LBC News. On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC News,
where the news never stops. This is LBC News.
Let's just return to the war in Ukraine, and I want to see if we get an insight now. It's exactly what people in Russia think. More to the point, can we get some sense of what some people in the regime think, perhaps even the Secret Service of that regime think? Let me bring back into the conversation Igor Sushko. Now, Igor is a Ukrainian, now lives in America. He had a great career as a racing driver in Japan back in the day. But Igor, tell us again, you have had found yourself an interesting job where you have been dealing with a friend of yours who has got a contact, we believe, inside the FSB. What have you learned?
Hi, Martin. Thank you for having me on again. Sorry about that. So just to clarify, I'm an American citizen born in Ukraine. That's an important distinction. With regards to the most recent events that are giving us some I think, very positive insights into the condition of the Russian fascist regime inside the country there and how the people are resisting. It was urgent news some hours ago that we received from the Wind of Change inside the FSB. It's a public warning that he wanted us to spread to the Russian people and especially regional offices of the FSB that will be kept in the dark concerning an impending false flag terrorist attack that will be conducted by the FSB, specifically targeting high-rise civilian apartment buildings in Belgorod and Crimea as special targets, could be other cities as well, that will have large V and Z symbols, which are, of course, the Putin's new swastika. Those V and Z symbols are being currently painted under the orders of the FSB office on these buildings. Some of them have already been painted, and it is being conducted as an operation by the Kremlin in order to unify the people for the fascist regime and try to stomp out the anti-war resistance inside Russia, which appears to be growing because the latest letter also talks about the law enforcement and security service apparatuses being stretched thin in their ability to deal with the sheer quantity of vandalism against any of the Z and V symbols that can be found around the country, such as on people's cars, apartment buildings, stores, etc.
So just remind us, Igor, when we saw those in the early days of the war, we saw the protests, the street protests, and they got absolutely slammed. People got arrested. We heard accounts of people being interrogated and all sorts of things going on. Those, I think, have melted away. But this is a new form, then, of public objection to what's being done in their name in Ukraine. And it seems to be, you would suggest, it's getting out of control. There aren't enough policemen to stop it.
That appears to be the case, yes. I was, frankly, surprised to hear myself, and that just gives you some idea of how closed Russia has become from a media standpoint, to where it's very difficult for us in the West to really get concrete and good information of what's going on there on the ground. So this kind of source with inside government information from the security services that has been providing us now a multitude of letters that with very specific information with regards to what is happening inside the Kremlin and the FSB and their attitude toward the West especially, it has been absolutely invaluable.
From what you've learned by doing a lot of work on those letters, and you've been doing some of the translation work on those letters, do you think there is even a sizable minority, or would it be a majority of officers within that organization who do not like what Putin is doing?
This would just be simply my assumption.
Sure.
I would assume that the majority in these offices right now possibly not just the FSB, possibly even the GRU, are very much against what Putin is doing. However, the activists, those that are acting against the Putin regime, such as the Wind of Change, those people, of course, are in the minority. So I would imagine it's a silent majority that's against Putin, but it appears to be that movement within the security services apparatuses are building.
Now, we have the luxury, don't we? I know you communicate quite a bit by Twitter. You found that a useful channel. We can put a hashtag, Wind of Change, and it goes around the world. Except that's not an option. That's not an option open to Russians, is it? I know they have their own equivalent of Facebook. But do you have any sense of where that kind of collegiate culling of opinion or galvanizing opinion, can that happen in Russia at all, or is that just impossible to happen?
Yes, that's also actually covered in detail in one of the FSB letters. And the fact is that the Russian censorship agency, the government body, is simply unable to deal with everything that's on the free internet, regardless. So the information will still get in to the people that know how to get it inside Russia. And this is something that is also discussed. It is possible that in the near future, the internet will be shut down inside all of Russia. That is one of their
need to do that,
considerations.
They'll need to do that to stop this kind of stuff happening.
Correct.
Okay. Let me just bring a quote to my listeners here. Fresh news, I've been reporting, as you may be aware, that our Prime Minister Boris Johnson is over in Kyiv at the moment as a show of unwavering support for the people of Ukraine, is the quote. He says, we're setting out a new package of financial and military aid, which is a testament of our commitment to his country's struggle against Russia's barbaric campaign. I think it's just reiterating, though, that you are concerned, are you not, Igor, from the content of these letters that you have been translating, that some kind of false flag thing, particularly perhaps in Crimea, might happen in the next hours, in the next couple of days, and that will give Russia the justification to step up the war another level?
Yes, one of the primary objectives there is to amass solid numbers of volunteers and conscripts that are going to be willing to fight for the fascist regime under Putin.
Okay. And that would be the purpose of that thing. You know, we're going to keep in touch. It's great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for being with us once again here on LBC News. Igor Sushko, who has been translating those letters from that Wind of Change group, we believe, within the FSB, which is within Russian society.